Hello, friends. We are live. This is Top 3 at 3. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ruel Gaviola, and this is a tabletop show that we do every week here, probably once or twice a week. I'm still trying to figure out the schedule, but I want to thank you for hanging out with us. I see Amanda Panda is in the chat. She is our moderator for chat, so please be on your best PG-13 behavior, or else Amanda's going to bust out the band hammer. We don't want to have that happen. Today, I have a really special guest, a friend of mine, and someone that a lot of us know here in the industry. It's Ross Thompson from The Op. And before we get going here, I'm going to do a couple of tech check things here. I see there's Amanda, there's Twin Flower. Thank you. Andrew as well. Hi, how are you? Book of Nerds, thank you for joining us. And Amanda's going to be dropping links in the chat there. Palakiko, thank you for joining us. Please check out those links there, folks, and support all the things that we got going on here. It's a hot day today. I'm feeling it, man. It's here in Southern California. It's about 90 degrees, so I'm starting to feel the heat in more ways than one. Just cranked up the AC. I hope you are all doing well out there. So thank you again for joining us. This is Top 3 at 3. We're going to talk to Ross a little bit about his journey in board gaming, and then we're going to share a top 3 list of some of our favorite games in a given category, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So we ready to go, guys and gals and everyone else? Here we go. Ross Thompson is the marketing and community manager at The Op. He's often found playing games, traveling conventions, and hitting friends with sticks. And I am so happy to have him here today. This is Ross Thompson from The Op. Ross, come on in. Hey, there he is. Ross, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. It's funny because that little opening is totally from like the old world. You know, like
it's so different now, right?
It really is.
I mean, I know that you're still hitting sticks, hitting people with, well, not people with sticks, but that, you know, you're I don't know what.
Yeah, so I'm doing regular Pell training, so it's good to, but I haven't put on armor in like 3 months. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, believe me, it is. I should probably just put on armor and just do some training that way. But it's been a little different, right? So
yeah, and yeah, I know you did that challenge. You were hitting the bag, like, or is it called a bag? I don't know. It looks like a punching bag,
right? So it's a Pell stick, which people use for training for all kinds of different martial arts. And so for the SCA fighting that I do, a Pell stick's pretty normal. I was running a Monday Pell practice at my house from 7 to 9 back when we could gather, and we've been doing that for about 2 or 3 years. So it was kind of a bummer not to have that going on, but in order to keep my training up, it's a 100-day Pell challenge. So you have to hit the Pell 100 days in a row, 100 times at least. So
wow,
that's kind of fun.
That's a great workout, man. Wow,
it was good, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. And there were times where you're like, your day is so busy, you kind of forget. You go, oh my gosh, I got to go do it.
Yeah. So you were doing it like at the end of the day rather than the start of the day?
It was dependent. Sometimes your mood changed, right? There were times where I did it during lunch, and then there were times where I just got up and I'm like, I'm going to start my day out. And then there were times where I'm like, you get off work, you start playing video games, and then you're about to go to bed, and you're like, oh crap, I got to go out and do that. So there's times where like I use a yardstick instead of like the Pell stick because I didn't want to, because the neighbors are right next door, right? So I didn't want to like just smack it and be like, oh, I'm that guy. So
yeah, it's like good morning. Nice. So Ross, thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate it, my friend. We are going to talk about your journey into modern board games. So folks, Ross, I mean, if you're in the board game industry, you know Ross. He works with The Op. He's worked for a couple other companies as well. But Ross, I want to talk to you and just learn about, you know, how you got into modern games and just talk about your journey to this point here in life.
Yeah, it's a fun story. So I've always played games. I grew up playing board games with my family. We played like Aggravation and Monopoly and a lot of classic games, like the Batman Forever game where you had to shoot the little ball and the little thing there. And like,
nice.
I grew up playing games. We played like Monopoly and Risk over the holidays and stuff, which is always good. And then in high school, with my core group of friends, we were playing D&D, and we got into Warhammer. Which was super cool. So your band kids playing Warhammer and Magic during lunch, right? Like good times there. And then one of my first jobs I got was working at the game store. So I worked over at Game Empire here in San Diego, which was super fun. Like it's like one of the dream jobs you can have, right? And along with that, I also ran a league for War Machine called the SoCal Beach Thralls, and our logo used to be a Bacana Thrall with the surfboard and flip flops. And
very San Diego. I love it.
Yeah, right. It was good. So we had a Monday league that had about 30 people that were playing War Machine every Monday, back at like peak War Machine days with Privateer Press.
Okay.
which was super cool. So we were like right when their Summer Rampage was going on. They hadn't released Mark II yet. People were getting into it because it was a cheaper way to play miniature war games, but like Full Metal Fantasy, and you weren't building these huge armies. It was still pretty like $200 got you in and you were set. So it was, and games were like 45 minutes, hour and a half. So you weren't doing these 3-hour epic Warhammer games. It was really cool. So my group played out of that. And then what ended up happening was I went to a convention called TempleCon in 2008 that was in Rhode Island. I became a press ganger for Privateer Press, which was part of their volunteer program. And so I went out there in the forums, back when we all had forums. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, you got to go to TempleCon. It's like the con. So I went to that in 2008, my first time going to a convention ever. And I met friends there that have been lifelong friends ever since, that have helped out. And I was kind of like my core on how to learn how to demo games, how to run tournaments and stuff like that. So that was kind of where I got my base for those things. And we bumped in the rooms and we're doing that. And I volunteered and ran tournaments and ran I ran all different kind of stuff there, working with the event for War Machine. And I came back and I was like, oh man, this is the coolest thing ever. I can do this. I can run this. So I decided that I was going to run a convention in San Diego. So that was when I first put together Kingdom Con, which was a convention we had here for 10 years. And Kingdom Con was essentially, for its first year, was a big War Machine tournament. It had, we had some Rock Band, we had some board games, we had some other stuff like that, which was cool because like that Kingdom Con, for the 10 years that we had it, formed a lot of clubs that eventually became some of these bigger things, like SoCal Thrones was a big Game of Thrones club here in San Diego, and we picked up other clubs along the way. But essentially, that was kind of like my first jump into it. And that first, I could talk about Kingdom Con the whole time too.
Oh yeah, but I would love to hear everything about Kingdom Con. So, folks, this is how I actually met Ross. Was a few years ago, coming down to Kingdom Con, and it is. I love that convention because it really was Southern California. It was just that vibe, real chill, everyone just having fun, hanging out, playing games. And I loved Kingdom Con. There's, we got Charlotte Seed out there, loves Kingdom Con. Thank you for the shout out. And that's how we met. And, I'm sure we could talk about that all day long. But I think it's cool that you went to the TempleCon and you sort of brought that back and what you learned there and, started
they crafted a really good, it was a mix of steampunk, cosplay, and gaming stuff. So they had a vendor hall and they did it in the Crown Plaza, like how we did with ours. And they just did a really good job with it. Theirs ended about 2000. Oh man, I forget, but they went almost 10 years, right? And so when I ended Kingdom Con last year, I was just getting really burned out. Which is a bummer, but I decided pretty much to end it on top. But we had all this, like it was a group effort. Everybody helped out. We had an amazing staff and volunteers and TOs, and all these clubs poured into it. So even though I was kind of like the head cheerleader for it, it was the community that really made the show what it was. And that was one of my tracks into modern gaming, right? So along with that, I've worked at Privateer Press. That was my first job in the gaming industry after volunteering with them for a long time. I had my first job as a retail support with them, which was super fun. I was there for about 3 to 6 months. And leaving California, it ended up not being the way for me. So I ended up coming back down, and then I ended up working freelance for a while. I worked at Cool Money or Not back when they were still Cool Money or Not. I was their marketing manager. I helped build their volunteer program, the Legion. I did a lot of marketing for them initially. So like the Zombicide Kickstarter, our Arcadia Quest, Sedition Wars, Rivet Wars, stuff like that. I helped out on those marketing and initial stuff going there. And then I ended up doing work at Ninja Division for a long time. So when we did like the Robotech stuff and Relic Knights and Super Dungeon Explorer, so I kind of went from working at Privateer to a lot of these like up and coming Kickstarter companies. Back when Kickstarter was still pretty fresh and everyone was still figuring it out.
Right. And I see like it just seems like there's a common theme in your story is working with games that have these amazing miniatures, right?
Yeah. It's funny to see where I was and where I am now. Right. So I'm definitely a miniatures game player at heart. That is, I love the hobby aspect of it. I love building the miniatures. I love the big games that are on the board and moving things around. Like that's what I love doing, which is funny now that like I'm like the licensed board game guy. Right. So, but yes, I got my start there and then traveled through working at different companies, I was probably going to about 26 conventions a year.
Wow.
Right. And from the big consumer shows, like from Gen Con and Origins and PAX, to a lot of the smaller trade shows like Alliance and ACD and GTS. And so all those different things kind of helped along the way. And I was, I'm big on social media, like sharing what I've been up to. So I think that helped a lot. It was like a lot of those early conventions. Oh my gosh, let's take a selfie. Let's do a thing. Let's hang out. And then as that all happened, essentially I left Ninja Division. They wanted to move everything to Idaho, which I gave a shot, but Idaho wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving them and then working at USAopoly back when they were still that was my first time there. And so I ended up working there. And right when they were launching Hogwarts Battle and Thanos Rising and a lot of those big hobby games, like their first step into the hobby market, which was awesome. I had a great time there. But some things changed up. I ended up going up to LA. That's the classic San Diego. I'm going to make it in LA. I'm going to go up. Right. Yeah. We've all had that. So, so I went up there. I was working for Geek and Sundry, doing some writing. I was working at White Moon Dreams. They're an indie video game company that was doing the War Machine video game.
Yep.
So I ended up being the only person who's worked at Privateer and White Moon doing their game, which was kind of fun.
Nice.
So LA ended up not being for me, which it's funny because like I still go up minus the COVID before all this. I was probably up in LA twice a month anyway.
Right.
But there's something about living there versus, hey, I'm going up for a day.
Yeah.
Right. So I can be the guy that shows up at burritos and be like, hey, I'm here. Everything's
Exactly.
cool, right?
Yeah. For anyone that's not familiar with Southern California, LA and San Diego are very different. And I grew up in LA, born and raised, but I live outside of the LA area now. And San Diego is way more chill. LA proper, like LA itself is very, can be crazy hectic, but it's the suburbs around LA that are a little more chill, a little more like the San Diego vibe.
Yeah, the biggest thing, like, it's great because everyone's collaborating, everyone's getting work done, which is just fantastic. But for me, I think the biggest thing was the speed difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely got overwhelmed with oh my gosh, I need to be doing everything and now being down here, I'm able to just focus, right? And be like, hey, I'm working on this. Hey, I'm working on this. Oh my gosh, we're going to collaborate on this thing. Cool. Yep. I'll come up. We'll make it happen, right?
Right.
So,
exactly.
So I ended up going back. Yeah, I will bring you Andrew. I ended up going back to San Diego, and now I've been at the op for a year and a half now, year and 9 months. So I guess almost 3 years if we're going to put them both together. And it's great. I love working at the op. I'm one of our marketing managers. We have a big marketing team, so I kind of do our influencer relationships, reviewer management, a lot of our marketing plan stuff, live streams, and all of those. So it's great.
Nice. I think it's so cool to see how you've, gone from, here you are in San Diego, but you've gone all around the country, different types of games, and especially all the miniature games. And here you come back home, almost come full circle, I guess. And now you're working with these huge IPs and everything else with the op.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think one of the things that I'm very blessed is that we have relationships with so many great companies, right? From CGE with Codenames and Steve Jackson Games with Munchkin. We're doing this new AEG Marvel Smash Up, and then we get to all these cool IPs. I mean, like, being a geek right now, we have a wealth of things we can consume, right? From Harry Potter, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. We can go on forever. Agreed. And so the op, we kind of get to play around with, hey, would this be a cool Clue? Would this be a cool Munchkin? Like, what are we going to do? So it's fun to be able to not just focus on one thing, but now we kind of get to play with literally the whole game night, the whole Netflix catalog, and be like, well, what are we going to make happen? So
that's pretty cool. I did notice recently on your social media that even after all this time, you're still painting miniatures, and you're found time to actually, still do that. I mean, that's got to feel good. I mean, aside from the whole everyone stay at home thing, at least you have time to focus on your hobbies.
It's been so nice. Like, and it's funny because I think we've all been trying to figure out like what's going on, right? Life is crazy. And obviously that's a whole other discussion too. But it's been nice to kind of refocus a little bit and be like, hey, what's important to me? What am I actually spending my time doing? Like, it's the first time where I've like, oh yeah, I'm going to do the laundry. I'm going to take the trash out. I'm going to make dinner. When normally for me, it was like, I was traveling twice a month. Right. And I was in my car for 2 hours a day, driving to work and back. So there was so much go, where now a lot of that time is now there's no excuses.
Right.
Know?
Right.
Like, sure, we're mentally drained and emotionally drained because, you open up the phone and it's doom scrolling all day.
Seriously.
But at least now it's like, okay, well, what do you want to spend your time doing? Right. So I've been sober for the last month, right? So I haven't had any beer, which has been,
Nice.
yeah, totally. Right. Like, it's easy when I'm not going out, but,
right.
So, and it's been fun. Like painting, I love miniature painting. I love board game stuff, and it's been fun. But I do miss playing Twilight Imperium.
Yes.
I will say that.
I was going to say there was no way we are going to get through this whole thing without talking a little bit about Twilight Imperium. So, folks, for those of you that don't know, Ross and I, we've gotten to know each other over the last few years at cons and everything else, but mainly because we spend big chunks of time together at the table playing Twilight Imperium. Ross is. I've learned some things watching Ross at the table. He is a very an excellent player. Not only, I mean, the game itself, there's a big part of the game where you need to negotiate, right? And Ross is one of the best negotiators I've seen. So I've learned some lessons from you. I may not apply them all the time, but I know I've learned a few things.
That last game we played, I got outmaneuvered and out negotiated. I think Nick ended up winning that game, right?
No, Jake did.
Oh, it's right.
Jake Michaels did. Yeah,
Jake did.
Yeah,
that's right.
Jake is a master, but Nick was in front. Yeah. And then out of nowhere, and actually Andrew was in this game with us,
Andrew
right?
Almost won too, though.
Yeah, he was. I know me and Andrew, we kept butting heads.
There.
Yeah. But yeah, that game was epic. That was at the last Strategicon. It was like an 8-hour game, and I just remember being
drained at the end of that thing.
Fried. Yeah. Like afterwards, when we went to the, it's at the LAX Hilton. Afterwards, we had that nice after game beer, and that was like the best thing in the world.
That was the best beer ever. It was like, we needed this about 4 hours ago.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so that was epic. Ross, I want to thank you again for sharing your story. It's such a great story. I've heard bits of it, but yeah, just knowing how much you've done in the industry and your hobbies and how it's all tied to it. It's a really cool story. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm glad. And another thing too, this is what I want to encourage people to do is like get out there, like get online. Especially right now, like there's so many people that are hosting different games and doing different things, like this online code name stuff and different Tabletopia things. If people are hosting a game night, go and do that, because right now we're not having any of that networking where we're going to shows and hanging out. So you have to go find it. And the best thing you can do is be like, hey, I want to go play a game. Let's do a thing. So when people are doing these hangouts, I encourage you to do it, because we're not having those gatherings and meetups right now. So people, I feel, are much more open to, hey, come play in our game. So go do that. Yeah, great point, Ross. Yeah, that's. For yourself personally, do you have like a regular meetup online with your friends, or are you just playing? I've actually been playing. I got a D&D game I play on Tuesdays. Okay. Nice. Which we're in this like Groundhog Day time loop sort of thing, where if we die, we go back to the beginning of the week. We're all in a theater troupe. That's been super cool. Nice. I've been a Blood Bowl 2 league right now. We're playing Blood Bowl on Steam. I'm so bad at that. And then I've been hosting a hobby hangout on Zoom. So we get a couple of our friends together, even though we're all looking to chat, like showing up once a week or whatever. This is mainly just, hey, it's Saturday for a couple hours. We have some friends that hang out, which has been really cool. So we're doing that. That's awesome. But yeah, it's definitely different, right? So I think with all the online cons that are coming up and things, it's a lot of the discussions that I've been having with people about this is, well, we're not having those, like, it's hard to meet new people during this, right? Like we definitely know our circles and we're established that way. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to reiterate, like, if you want to get into the industry, or if you're in the industry trying to find new people, just hit them up. Go, hey, you want to play? Like, there's some people that are playing some werewolf games on Discord or doing Jackbox hangouts. Hey, we're going to get a couple folk together for like an hour, do a thing. There's nothing wrong with that, Yep, so, that's right. Yes. Especially because we're like a phase one, we're almost back to the beginning now with this quarantine thing. So we're going to be here for a while. So dig in, guys, Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, that's great advice, Ross. So yeah, friends who are watching this, please go. There's plenty of resources online. Check them out. Tabletopia, Tabletop Simulator, Steam, everything. And there are Facebook groups you can find and everything else on social media. You can totally connect. So Ross, thanks for again sharing your journey. Let's go into the second half of our show, which is going to be a lot of fun. This is a funny category. This was a fun one to pick and to talk about. Ross and I are going to talk about our top 3 games that start with the letter R. And I thought this was funny because Ross, Ruel, R, right? Oh, I think it's great. Yeah, and we talked a little bit before we came on air, like there's a lot of games that start with the letter R, right? There really are.
Yeah, and they
Arr.
really are. Arr.
Yeah, it's funny because there's so many words too, like that fit for that opening thing. So it'll be. I'm sure our list will be a little similar with top games.
Yep, that's right.
But that being said, like a lot of the R's on there, it's like, oh, this totally like we could have listed probably 10 more games out each that we both enjoy playing.
Absolutely.
So it's not surprising. So like, and there's a lot of other letters too. Like I think W is a lot of war games, right? And then a lot of H's. I was kind of looking at it, but my R is definitely it was a good one. So
yeah, it just happened to work out that way.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about our top 3, folks, but I'm going to start with some honorable mentions. So I'm going to go, and then Ross, we're going to go back and forth like any other list. So my honorable mentions are Raiders of the North Sea. This one's from Renegade. It is a worker placement game set in the North Sea world. It's a Viking game. This one I have a lot of love for as a worker placement game, but also I was really surprised. I wasn't sure if my wife Michelle would like this game, but it turns out it's one of her favorites now. And I really appreciate the fact that it's a worker placement game that does something unique where you place a worker, you take one off. And I've talked about this game a bunch, but that's one of my honorable mentions, Raiders of the North Sea. Have you played this one, Russ?
I don't think I have. It's been on my list to play, but I haven't touched it yet. So
okay, yeah, this one's good. My friend John Gonzalez, Book of Nerds, he says R, Twilight Imperium.
Yes, that's definitely one of the top R's for sure.
Definitely. One of my other honorable mentions is Rap Gods, which is back here. I just got this recently, and this was I love this story, and I know you're familiar with this, Ross. Danny from Danny Plays Games. He saw that Omari was trying to sell Rap Gods during this 1 week period where he would donate money to Black Lives Matter. Danny said, hey, I'm going to throw in a couple of bucks for every copy sold. A bunch of people in the industry jumped on it, and all of a sudden he was not only was sold out, but he was being matched by who was it? Isaac from Gloomhaven and a bunch of other people. They ended up raising over $60,000 for Black Lives Matter. So I was more than happy to get a copy, and I played it with Michelle and Lauren. We streamed it live, and we had a good time with this one. Have you been able to play this one yet, Ross?
I haven't yet, but it's not one of those things where it's like I can't wait, right? So it's kind of hard to play games that don't have a physical or don't have a virtual setup, right? So
yeah, and now I know recently they just put it on Tabletopia, so it is available. On
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's a unique theme. It's hip hop. I love it. There's a lot of tongue in cheek and a lot of fun stuff to it. It's basically hand management, and you go around this little track. It looks like a little turntable. The art is fantastic. It's unique. It's fun. We love it. That's one of my honorable mentions. Letter R, Rap Gods. So let's move on to Ross. You have a couple of honorable mentions yourself, my friend.
Yeah, I do. So I actually have them right next to me, but it's all good. They're kind of I don't want to leave the stream, but So I've got Role Player is a really good one. So Role Player, it's a dice engine buying kind of game thing where you are building your D&D character sheet.
Yeah.
Right, which is super cool. They've done some. I think they're also running a campaign right now for Role Player Adventures.
Yes,
which is super cool. They've done a great job with that brand, with how it looks, how it plays. I love the Role Player game. If you're big into D&D and you like role playing games, it's fun because essentially you're like buying dice and you want to build out and kind of min-max your character and make sure the alignments are right. I love how the character sheets are double-sided, so you can get a guy and girl. Right, and they've all got a bunch of different races. It's really fun. And the new expansion they had too added in kind of like once you've built your character, you can battle some monsters.
That
which is great. So that's super cool. And then my other game, because I had to throw at least one miniature game on there.
Yep.
Was Relic Blade. So Relic Blade is it's one of those like it's indie but before you knew it kind of thing, and it's by Sean Sutter. And so he did the art, he did the game design, he did the miniature sculpting, he did the book layout, everything for it he's done.
Wow.
Which is incredible. So that's
insane.
Yeah, so it's all him. He has some people that he uses for some additional game design, but pretty much it's all him. And the game is super cool. You're putting together little war bands, and essentially you're having like a brief engagement. So like you have your characters, they've got a couple things they can do. They can cast some spells, they can have some attacks, but it's a nice quick combat game. You only have to have like maybe 5-6 miniatures for your warband. They've got cool pig guys, they've got cool lizard men, like they've got all these little dwarves and heroes. All the miniatures are super animated, and it's a really tight system. The game is really cool. The art is fantastic. They just finished a Kickstarter for their latest expansion, which pulled I think $80,000. which is super cool. So if you want to get into a miniatures game that definitely has like a new following, and it's a lot of that, and the community for it's really fun too. I like how it's not just here's my stuff. Like look at these purples and these oranges, and they're making it a lot more artistic, which is really fun. So
nice, awesome.
Yeah, that's one that I'm just all about. So he puts a lot of passion behind it, and you can really see it.
Right on. Yeah, I remember before we put together this list, I was wondering how many miniatures games is Ross going to get on this list. So at least you got at least one of them.
I got one on there. Yeah. So.
Nice. Mrs. Gab 2020 says, "Rap Gods, we need to run it back." That is my wife, Michelle. Hello, Michelle. Thanks for hanging out. We really enjoyed Rap Gods. So
that's great.
Yeah, we're going to play it again. So let's move on to our top 3 now. I'm going to start with my number 3, which is A Roll for the Galaxy. You can see back there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's on my shelf.
I believe you.
Roll for the Galaxy. This is an engine building game. It's got you're building a tableau. You're building your galactic empires, basically sending your workers out, getting resources, and they use dice in a really neat way. Those dice are actually your workers, and you send them out. You roll them, and then you do this cool little hidden behind your little player aid. You hide where you're going to place those dice, and you all reveal at the same time, and you sort of like place them out there and see which actions are being taken. I'm going to stop talking about Roll for the Galaxy here because I have a feeling something might be coming up real soon that's familiar.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah, have you played Roll for the Galaxy, Ross?
I have. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. So let's move on then. We'll come back to something similar in just a second. Your number 3, Ross.
My number 3 is Risk.
Nice.
Which is, I know like I work at the ops, so it's like, oh, it's Risk, but I love Risk. I've played Risk growing up. It's a good classic game. Like we played with the Roman numeral version.
Oh,
yeah. We always play at Thanksgiving with my family, which is super cool. And then with my friends, we played for a little bit in college, but then kind of stopped after. I would always take Australia, and that'd be it. But what I like about Risk is that it's random dice generation and kind of stuff, where it's random number generated. But besides that, it's just a good game. You know, like and there's like obviously the op does a lot of great versions too. So we've got Rick and Morty, and we have the new Warhammer 40K one coming out later this year. When
I saw that coming out, I was like, oh yeah, Ross is he's fired up about that.
I definitely did my best to help make sure that happened. But we've got all kinds of cool ones that are going out, and so Risk is nice because classic games are a huge part of our industry. I know they take a lot of crap, like everyone, oh, Monopoly this and everything, but it's like those games, Clue, Risk, Monopoly, Jenga, like they're a staple, right? And when a family goes into a game store and they're like, oh my gosh, look at this thing. I know this brand. I have so many good feelings around Monopoly. People want to pick it up and they want to be a part of that. And so and they keep game stores open. Obviously it keeps me employed, right? So but there's so many things that are cool about classic games, and Risk for me, it's a lot of fun to play. I will always play Risk. So.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think that's important to note that, like, these classic games, I think people who are embedded in the games and who are hardcore gamers, sometimes we forget. I mean, those Clue, Risk, Monopoly, those bring people in. That's what brought me in. When I was a kid, I was playing Monopoly with my brothers. We were fighting over, Risk or whatever. And those, when I got into the modern games, I remember those. And I did enjoy board games back when I was a kid. And that was sort of a way to get into it. Yeah. Right? So again, these new versions, nothing wrong with them. And I'm going to move on to my number 2 because, real quick, speaking of Risk, my number 2 game that starts with the letter R is Risk, the Star Wars Edition Black Series for me. So this one I have here. This is, I think Hasbro did this a few years ago.
They did, for sure.
Yeah, and this one, it's different than Risk because this is basically the end of Return of the Jedi on a board, and it does things. You have 3 different battlefronts. You have to attack the Death Star, blow it up, or open up this. You have to get the shield generator, blow that up to attack the Death Star, and at the same time, you have your Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker. You're trying to turn each other to the other side. So I love that, and it's not really Risk. It's really this old. I mean, it's got similarities where you got all the pieces and rolling dice and combat and stuff, but I love it. It's basically Return of the Jedi, the last 30 minutes of the movie.
It's all about storytelling, and a lot of those things. Like Pat Marino could talk about Risk because he's one of our main Risk guys, where he did the Rick and Morty Risk, and he's working on the new 40K one. And we all understand it. You have your armies every turn from your things you own. You've got those. You move. You got to get higher than the defensive player. You get some cool cards there, but everything can change up now. Cool.
Yep.
We'll give you generals now. We'll give you extra missions you can do. The board is now changed, right? So we all understand the basic mechanics of it, and it's just fun. So like if you're going to put Star Wars on there, I'm down.
Yeah, exactly. And I've never played the Star Wars. It's the one that's out of print. I think it was. Oh gosh, what is the name of that game? There's that Star Wars game that's been out of print for years. It's based on Episode 1.
Oh, we're going for that game. So because whenever everybody goes, oh, what's that Star Wars game? You should ask Lincoln about his Episode 2 Battle Arena game, the Battle of Geonosis thing.
Oh, okay.
It's not Risk, but that's like his favorite Star Wars game. So.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. So this one has been. Gosh, I want to say it was like the Queen's Gambit. Queen's Gambit.
That's totally what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been out of print for years. I looked at copies on eBay. They're going for like $400 in some insane amount. But people tell me that this version of Risk is very similar to it. It's just a lighter version of it. Yeah. So that's why I'm excited about.
Get on it. That's why we do a reprint, right?
Yeah, do it. So Risk, Star Wars, the Black Series is a little different than the regular one because the regular game. It has like just really bad card stock, and the board is a little flimsy.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, if you're gonna get Star Wars, you got to go to Lex.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So. And the Black Series got like a little Millennium Falcon. Come on, guys, that's the one you get it.
You don't got to upsell me on Star Wars stuff,
right? Cool. Exactly. Okay, so now that's my number 2 game that starts with the letter R. Let's move on to Ross. Ross, I think we're gonna be talking about something we just talked about.
So we just talked about rolling through the galaxy. I think on this one we're gonna race through the galaxy. For my number 2. This game is great. It's very similar to Roll, where you're kind of building up your tableau and doing these different things. But for Race, it's a card cruncher. I love that when we play this game, you're going to play like 2 or 3 times. Where you're like, oh, you're going to finish the first game and go, okay, cool, play it again, get it all down. The base game by itself is super solid. They've got a lot of expansions that add more cards for military, for all the different alien planets, for all the different genetic stuff. And you can it's a really cool, like, engine building game where once you find your
Sasquatch Makeup, one of our regulars here. Thank you so much for that. Ross from the Galaxy. Yes.
I would love to be in that card art, man. That would be so cool. But yeah, that game's super fun. It's just one of those games where it's like I have the base game. I think it's right behind me actually. Yep, right there.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah, but it's super fun. You can play, and it's always about like the trendsetter cards. They have those cool glasses and space lightning going on. It's just fun. It's about getting the right engine going on and building it up. It's just if you like card engine building games and you're building that out, it's really cool.
Nice. And Sasquatch Makeup, when you had Roll for the Galaxy, I put it as Ruel for the Galaxy. Thank you, Sasquatch. Yeah. See, we have both our games. Oh my gosh,
that actually works out really well.
Yeah. And Cosmos Games, thank you for joining us. Yes, Night folks. They are in the UK, so I believe it is.
Cosmos rocks.
Yeah, Cosmos is awesome.
Yeah.
So we have Race for the Galaxy. Roll. I think it's funny that we both picked one of those games, and
me too.
We're both sci-fi fans, obviously.
It makes you had the other was the sci-fi ones.
Oh yeah,
I was like, oh man, we could do that forever.
Yeah, totally. Just like you know what I think of. I just thought of this one. This would have been fun. Top 3 races in Twilight Imperium.
Oh, well, now we have to do a reunion.
I'm gonna have to have you come back, and actually, we should have like Jake Michaels on as well. And
yeah, Space Turtles, Peace Cats on here, right? Like,
they're so good, so good. Okay, so it's Race for the Galaxy, another great one, folks. That's our number 2 game. So let's get to our number 1s. I'm gonna reach over here and hopefully not pull a muscle, but my number 1 game that starts with the letter R is Railways of the World. There it is. Yes. This is I guess it's considered a classic now. This is a game from Martin Wallace. It's a pick up and deliver game. It's a train game. It's not an 18XX, but it's classic pick up deliver. You're building routes throughout the U.S. I think this version that I have here is the Northeast U.S. But there are plenty of maps you can play. I played the Mexico map, played Northwest or Western U.S. and so forth. Classic pick up and deliver. You're building routes. You're delivering cubes to the colored cities, trying to get points that way. The bigger your routes, the more points you score. I love it because it's really easy to learn, but there's a ton of strategy behind it, and it's really subtle. And this was a game I was so fired up that Michelle, my wife Michelle, and our daughter Lauren, they really took to it, and we had a great time live streaming it. So, Ross, any experience with Railways of the World or any train games?
I've played it a little bit. I'm a big fan of train games, and it's kind of funny because we weren't going to have an R list without having some kind of train game on there.
Right.
But it's fun. I think I've only played once or twice.
Okay.
But I always get that one confused with oh my gosh, the Western game, Great Western Trail.
Oh, great! Great Western Trail.
They're totally different, but it's just sometimes. But it's just stuff that's like, oh yeah, train games. It's like, oh no, there's so many good ones. So
yeah,
that's definitely one of the longer ones, I think, right?
Yeah, this one can go. This one can go. It's a minimum of an hour. It could go up to 2, just depending on the players and the way things work out. Book of Nerds says Ruelways of the World. Thank you, Book of Nerds.
Oh my gosh, we got to get a little.
But Panda says Rossways of the World. Rolls off the tongue even better. And Andrew was talking. We're talking about the top 3 races in Twilight Imperium. He says the virus. Yeah, that was
that's a little too on topic.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, right.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So yeah, that's my number 1, folks. So the number 1 game that starts with R is Railways of the World. But let's get to Ross. Ross, I'm not gonna. Spoiler alert. This game that you have coming up, I was so close to putting it on my list, but I didn't.
It's one of my favorites, man.
It's so good. It's so good.
So I should have gone and grabbed it so I can get the little piece. I can go rah right as we do.
There it is, folks.
So Raw is easily my number 1 game when it comes to R. This one always hits game night. It's easy to play in the sense where it's like, okay, you're bidding, you're buying these things, but it's so intricate, right? And it's one of those like classic Foundation games where it's been around for so long, and if you haven't played it, oh my gosh, go pick it up.
Yes.
I don't know if they gave it one of those like remastered versions. I know they were going through and doing that for a couple of the games.
Yeah.
But Raw is just good, right? It's because you're pushing your luck, because you're drawing different pieces out, and you're trying to build your empire a little bit, right? Because you want to get the pharaohs, so you're trying to see how many pharaohs I can get. You're trying to build your Niles out, but at the same time, you got to make sure you get the one that actually gives you points for your scoring. You've got like 13 different monuments you can draw from, but then you got to get, are you going to go for 3? You're going to go from all different kinds. All at the same time, your actual bidding tokens are a different, or another bidding. So it's all bidding, right? And it was during the same time when Reiner Knizia was doing like modern art, and then also Medici, which that's Medici. I have to say, if I wasn't going for Twilight Imperium and for my top game of all time, I love Medici.
Medici is solid.
It's one of my favorite games, and I think if that game had better components, it would probably be higher on people's lists.
Yeah.
If you were looking at it the other day, that's probably the game that's gotten the most play too out of my group. I still have my box when I got it in high school, and the corners all ripped up and everything. But I'm like, this game is still solid. But it's like little paper shift components. But with Raw, it's good, and it has, and this is totally done. But the Raw piece, like the blue and gold, is just solid, and it feels so good slamming it on the table.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when AEG has the hammer for tiny towns, right?
Right.
Any game that has a thing you can smack on the table. For that.
And another game by Reiner was like modern art with the little gavel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Put little things you can hit the table with. That is, you got me
so
on
true.
That, right?
Yeah. So Raw. I love this game too, and I like so many of his designs, and I've talked about this before with other guests, where I just feel like his designs. Again, they're so simple to learn, but there's a ton of strategy that you're thinking about it. It's subtle. It's like sort of hidden, and like you're playing. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to do this, but I can't. I want to do that, but I can't. But then I can do these things, which are cool. And I just think it's such a cool mix. Raw is such a great choice, Ross. I love that game.
What's also cool about it too is, along with the mechanics, like player interaction is very important, right?
Yes.
And you can just sit there and just bid a little bit, but there's a bluffing element to it, and there's like a body presence to it, and like just every little bit counts, and so it's easily a number 1 for top R games.
Agreed.
Next to our Twilight Imperium.
Yeah, right. Our Twilight Imperium is still number 1. We got some R's here.
Root.
Root. I had it. It fell to number 6 on mine, and this one was I totally forgot about Rebellion. Star Wars Rebellion is fantastic.
How much we talk about Twilight Imperium, it's funny that Rebellion didn't make either of our lists.
Yeah, right. Twin Flower, one of our regulars here, she talks about the Magic Maze Red Pawn. I love
Magic Maze. I love Magic Maze.
Slamming that red pawn in front of someone's hurry up.
No joke. I'm probably going to ruin it. Like, I would love to see Magic Maze take to my piece. That'd be really cool.
That would be awesome. Yeah, so that's it, folks. This has been Ross. I've been hanging out with Ross Thompson from the Op. He's also former director of Kingdom Con. He's got all the stuff going on. We talked about our top 3 games that start with R. Before we get out of here, Ross, again, I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. Really appreciate it, my friend. And where can people connect with you online?
Morel, first off, thank you for having me on. I'm really glad I could be a part of this. It's always fun. I love everything you're doing. Keep rocking it. So I'm online. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm Almost Kirk. So like Star Trek, Almost Kirk.
Nice.
I'm that for Twitter and for Instagram. On Facebook, I'm Ross Thompson, or the Ross Thompson, I guess. But it's all personal page, no like entertainment page, stuff like that. I guess for upcoming things for me too, you can see everything we're doing at the Op. We just recorded a bunch of cool panels for the Op at home. So we'll be doing a lot of fun content for Comic-Con and for Gen Con, which will be great. And then I have some panels coming up for Comic-Con at home. So you can find those. We interviewed some awesome people from Eric Lang and Kathleen. There's a lot of good folks that came on and talked about a lot of really good stuff. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And folks, Amanda Panda, our moderator, has dropped some of the links there. Please check those out. And again, on behalf of Ross, I'd like to thank you all for spending part of your day with us today. I will be back here at 7:30 tonight playing another great game with my family, Michelle and Lauren. I'll save the info. I'll post the info later on social media. But until then, have a great day, everybody. Thank you, and we'll see you later. Bye, everybody.